Hey, shalom and blessings, everybody. I hope that you and your families are well, along with your husbands and wives and your children, that you're growing closer together and strengthening each other as a family unit. And I pray that your soul is prospering spiritually and physically, that you are growing closer to God and that He is blessing you like never before. But there's some things I would like to say, and I know some of you probably are having some questions. There might be some confusion, so to speak, wondering about these times, what we should be doing. And, I want to give you a message of hope at the end, but right now I want to speak this because I know this is important. It can seem like God's harvest, the field, we have wheat and tares growing together, and it seems like, there's black spots growing and starting to branch out where, it seems like the bugs or disease is starting to contaminate the field. It seems like the fig tree is the figs are starting to get devoured by bugs and starting to rot. It seems like the field is just growing darker. And we can question, like, God, how much longer? Because it seems like your harvest is being devoured, the fig tree is being devoured, and your people are being confused. There's delusions. They're wandering to and from. There's so much going on today, and people are departing and betraying one another. He said that this time would come, that people betray one another because of distance from the law that is written on the heart and the mind. It's the Spirit, the true walking in the power of the Spirit, so they will turn from one another. So that's what it means. Betray means to turn, depart. It's to leave. And this is what's going on right now. And it seems like so much is going on. But he says that the enemies will be in your own household. And not only that, but he says to, Jeremiah 9:4, everyone be on guard against a neighbor and do not trust a brother. And the thing is that Yeshua, was very interesting about Yeshua, it said that during even Passover, he did not go. And he did not need to know the testimony of man because he already knew what was in man. He didn't need to know a good report of people. He didn't need to hear good things about you or me because he knew what was in people. And this is the thing. We have to know what's in people, but if we know God, don't fear the one that can kill the flesh, but the one that can kill the flesh and the soul and send you into hell. Those are the one that can steal your soul. Many are seeking knowledge, many are seeking wisdom, but it's not truly the wisdom and knowledge that leads to silence and humility. Now pay attention to what I'm about to say. He says in Amos 5:3, therefore the prudent keep quiet in such times, for the days are evil. Now look what he says. There's something else that I just keep hearing over and over again. Not only is it wake up, but it's to stay sober. It's to don't sleep. And it's to be ready. Yeshua said it. Peter said it. Paul said it. It's all throughout the prophets. It's even back in the Torah. Over and over and over again. The devil is like a roaring lion, seeking, prowling who he may devour. And he's seeking to devour you. It's like Yeshua told Peter, he desires to sift you like wheat. So the devil is desiring to sift you like wheat. Those that cannot escape the things that entangle them, that has enslaved them, entrapped them, anything that is of self-will, self-desire, self-ambition, self-goals, self-seeking, self-pleasures, self-desires. These are the very things that is going to eat people up, because the bugs will eat you alive and the disease will eat you like gangrene to where you rot, and it will eat the fruits that you once were bearing. Just like in Matthew 13, the 3 seeds died and the one survived, the one that kept bearing fruit. How many will find the precious pearl? And what is that pearl? It's not something you're going to find in a church or in a synagogue. It's not something you're going to find from man. Though a man can have some type of wisdom or knowledge, but they're not going to ever say, I got knowledge or wisdom and I know truth. Those seeking truth are departing from the truth. And those that claim to know truth don't even know what the truth is. So they're being sent strong delusions. They're being confounded in their minds. They're being confused. for to seek in something to gratify the mind and the heart rather than the true soul, and to set you free from this flesh. When he appears, we'll know him for who he is. For we will not be like the world. We will not see like man sees. We will not think like man thinks. We will not desire the things that man desires. We will not strive for what man is striving for. For we will see the eternal kingdom for what it is and how it is and who God truly is. And that truly set apart. You don't have to say, I'm set apart. You don't have to say I'm righteous because you won't even feel righteous. You will be sitting in the silence and ashes and sackcloth, so to speak, in silence with God, saying, I am nothing. What is it that you want to show me so that I can draw closer to you? Am I right with you? Shouldn't we all be saying this, asking God? Now, there's something else I wanted to bring up. Paul is a man where he was a tent maker by trade. And this is something else I'm getting into. He was a tent maker by trade. It was required, even Gamaliel himself was a carpenter, like Yeshua was a carpenter. Every rabbi had to have a trade. Imagine that today. Tell me which rabbi or pastor has a trade today. Now, it was also that they can make a living for themselves and not depend on people or the arm and strength of man. Now, this is something I would set an example. I have never taken a profit one time. Not in the ministry. I have made a living for myself every single time. Now, Priscilla and Achilles, they both were tent makers along with Paul, right? So Paul was a tent maker and he made a living for himself along with them. And they used those funds to continue the missions and the outreach and the help, continue the mission of spreading God's good news and spreading the gospel and reaching the lost souls. They made an example to everybody. Even Paul himself did not buy a home. He rented by his own resources. Yes, some people donated to continue the missions, but he used his own resources in order to pay rent for a home. You got to be tent-minded in this life. Don't put your tent pegs down. Don't put your foundations down and say, this is where I'm staying. Don't be like Abraham. He had a tent mind that God said, leave. He brought Lot and his wife, and they went and lived in tents, moving place to place. I'm not telling you to dwell in a tent. What I'm telling you to say, whether that's an apartment, a condo, or a house, rent. Why not rent? Everyone wants to buy. That's the thing I'm hearing all the time. Buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling, eating and drinking. It's business as usual. Their mindsets are on these things. How many people's minds are on these things? Next year, I'm going to buy a house. Next year, I'm going to buy a new car. Do you think Paul said, next year, I'm going to buy a horse or a donkey? Yeshua himself borrowed a donkey and rode on that donkey. Even Mary and Joseph did themselves. Yes, they did. Think about it. Paul himself rented. Yeshua himself said, I, the Son of Man, if you want to follow me, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Why are you taking security in your surroundings, your environment? These things you can take comfort and security in, that you will never leave and truly find what God wants you to have. And you go and sit in comfort and security in the churches and the synagogues that are just like you that can't leave. Why? Because they become too comfortable. It's nice to be comfortable in Persia. Yes, the Jews could not leave Persia. They could not go to Israel into a desolate wasteland to go rebuild the ruins. No, they could not, because it's too comfortable. It was luxurious. It was rich. It was all the glitz and glamour and everything that you wanted. The materialisms, the possessions that you could ever have and find comfort and security in. The wages, the jobs were there. Imagine, I'm not telling you to just abandon your jobs, but my gosh, people say, I'm going to buy this house and I will leave when God tells me. No, you're not. That's why you just bought a new car. Look, pay attention. Look at Jeremiah 51:57. Look what he says. I will make drunk her princes, wise men, deputies, governors, and mighty men, and they shall sleep and not wake. says the King, whose name is the Lord of hosts. He's saying that he's going to put to sleep all those people. Look what he says right here. Amos 9. Look what he says. Amos 9:11. Behold, days are coming, declares the Lord Adonai, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread, not a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Adonai, the Lord. So people will wander from sea to sea and roam from north to east, searching for the word of Adonai, but they will not find it. In that day, the fair virgins and the young men will faint from thirst. So you will not find the living waters you're looking for. Many are bouncing from church to church, preacher to preacher, teacher to teacher. But the true prophets, even Silas was a prophet. Judah was a prophet that was with Silas. There was many. Even in the New Testament, there was many. And there's many here right now. I'm not claiming to be one. But what was a prophet? They urged, they exhorted, they told you, instructed, they rebuked, they admonished, they told you now urgently, do this, do this. Don't do this, don't do this. Listen, we need to go this direction. Pay attention. Dig deep. They were not fearful. They were not cowards. The cowardlies will not enter heaven. What was cowardly? They compromise and fade away under persecution. And they just blend in with society rather than being set apart. They want to fit in with divisions and factions and feuding. They want to confine in groups that are not truly following God. Now look what he says, Isaiah 28:7. But they also have erred through wine and through intoxicated drink. This is spiritually. It could have been physically, yes, but this is spiritually, because in Revelation it's talking about it. Intoxicating drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through intoxicating drink. They're swallowed up by wine. They're out of the way through intoxicating drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. So the vision is false. The judgment is false. Those that claim to have wisdom or knowledge and be speaking prophecies, it's false. Jeremiah 13:13, look what he says. Tell them this is what the Lord says. I am going to fill drunkenness all who live in this land, including the kings who sit on David's throne. These are the people that are holding the testimony of Yeshua, right? Just like in Revelation, this calls for endurance of saints, those who keep the commandments of God and the faith in Yeshua, Jesus. And this is what it's calling for. But those are sitting on David's throne that are holding the power and position and preaching God's word. The priests, the prophets, and all those living in Jerusalem. All those living in God's kingdom. That are basically heirs of righteousness. Supposed to be. Right? That are children, whether spiritually or physically, of God. That's what I'm trying to say. Revelation 18:3. So you got to be careful. Be careful. Revelation 18:3. For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her. And the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries. So people were striving. This is worse than the days of Noah. How do we know it's the time? Guys, look around. If you're not seeing people as like lifelessness in their eyes, there's like a haze over their eyes. It's just a daze. There's just a daze. It's like people are in a sense of euphoria right now. It's an euphoric state, and everyone seems to have that. But how many have eyes to see? We got to stop pointing the finger, though, at each other in the body of believers. And what we need to do is start pointing the finger at ourselves and like reading the word like this might be for me. If you're reading it to point the finger, guys, you might be thinking I'm pointing the finger right now. I'm pointing the finger right back at myself. Now, look at here. Jeremiah 6:13, from the least to the greatest, all are greedy for gain. Prophets and priests alike, all practice deceit. And that's why he says in Amos 5:3, therefore, the prudent keep quiet in such a times as these are evil. Look what he says, because he says, Jeremiah 9:4, everyone be on guard against a neighbor and do not trust a brother. All are a deceiver and a slanderer. He says it right there. All practice deceit, the prophets and priests, and so does your neighbors. Most of them are. And that's the sad reality today. But we got to have a heart of love. We do. Forgive. And the very thing that the devil is coming to try to take is that forgiveness. If he can take that, he wins. Fear the one that can kill the flesh and the soul and send both to hell. Don't fear the one that kill the flesh. What's a gun? What's a gun? What's a knife? Right? What's a punch? Right? These things are nothing to fear. People fear what man can do to them. But why not be worried and fear that I might not be right with God? That God, I am not truly looking at a heart of forgiveness and staring at the cross as you did. If you can forgive anyone if you can stare at the cross. I'm just saying. Everyone, I want to give you this message. Now, there's something I want to say. I've always made an example by trade. And, I don't know if I've ever told anybody, but by trade, my job, just like Paul was a tentmaker, Yeshua was a carpenter, and Gamaliel, one of the greatest teachers in Jewish history, kind of ever, right? Gamaliel, Paul was handpicked out of Rome to go study under him. I mean, that's impressive. That's like being handpicked to go to Harvard? I don't know. But my trade is, yes, I've been to college. I've done engineering. I've done management. I've done a lot of different stuff, okay? But my trade is truck driving, okay? So I set an example for everyone, and I tell the young, and even those here, yes, it says that we would have to serve Babylon, but don't let your heart be in it. Don't serve the system. We work as if we're working unto God, as Paul said, not man, okay? We set an example for man, because if the worldly is there, what kind of example would it be if we're lazy, right? Think of David and Joseph. What did David and Joseph do? They made an example of how we should work, how we should live for God and not compromise. Both did not bow down to either. They served God and not their gods. They served God, and yes, they served man, but they worshiped God, but not man. They served man, right? But it would serve God first and worked serving man as if working unto God, the Lord. So think about that. We have to, but those diligently seeking God, we're not seeking money. We're not seeking gain. That's not why we're working. If that's what you're doing in goals or dreams or some kind of praise of man or to look good in your family tree or to your in-laws or for your family or to others, that's not it. Guys, I'm going to also tell you this. Women and men, be careful in this time. I'm not telling you not to get married. I'm not telling you to. But I'm also going to tell you this warning right now because I believe this is happening with many. I know because I'm hearing what God is telling me that you all have to be careful of those that are coming in and you're like, wow, this one's of God. First of all, I'm going to tell you something. If it goes against God's word, it's not of God, no matter how holy this person appears. If they're taking you from time and prayer from God, it's not of God, no matter how holy it appears. If your passion, your love, your desire to dig deeper into God and strive for him more and draw closer to him is being quenched and brought down, you notice that fading away, your first love, watch out. Because they should be building you up in the strength and wisdom of God. Not only that, but drawing you closer and continue actually making that fire grow to press into him. There's many that are trying to steal the fire, and I've seen it over the years, especially in ministry. I've done ministry too. But don't let it steal your fire. Now, I'm going to leave this message with you. Every single one here, I want to leave this with you. Just be careful, okay? But don't lose hope no matter how dark it gets. Look what he says. Look at Habakkuk 3:15. You march forth, your horses in the sea, much water foaming. I heard and my belly trembled. My lips quivered at the sound. He's talking to God. Decay comes in my bones. I tremble where I stand, since I must wait quietly. Guys, you're not going to hear God and see if you're on social media. I'm just going to say that right now. Please, if God is telling you get off, just get off. Get off of Facebook, get off of TikTok, get off of Instagram and Twitter, and please. Now look what he says. Since I must wait quietly for a day of distress to come up against the people who will invade us. He's acknowledging that he has confidence and faith in God, but he knows the visions that he's seen and the prophecies that there is going to come judgment. Now, I'm telling you all, there's judgment coming. Just because there's convoys and stuff like that people where these mandates are being overthrown, it doesn't mean that they will in some of the workplaces, okay? There's things that are, like I said, there's going to be secret laws being passed under the table until it just heaps on us. We're going to have little victories. I said it long ago, we're going to have little victories by times of prosperity and times of shakiness again. Prosperity and times of shakiness again. It's just going to hard times up and down. It's going to be like a roller coaster. It's like a woman giving birth. It's going to get more and more intense. And don't get distracted. Don't let the delusions overtake you. It's coming upon those that are not truly thirsting for the living waters, that are not truly hungering for the bread of life, that are not truly finding that precious pearl, selling all to find it. Guys, I'm telling you, knowing what's in that field and what was in that field, it's the harvest, guys. Pay attention. You discern how you want about that, but if you find that pearl, it's only up to you. Only you can find it. No man can lead you to it. It doesn't matter what religion you're in. It doesn't matter what church you go to. You're not going to find it until you surrender to God and seek him with all your heart, soul, and mind. He says, if you seek me, you will find me. You don't need the man to show you. Yes, honor and respect the leaders, those that look after your soul, But you got to remember there's many that are not looking after your soul. Are they weeping for you? Are they crying for you? Or are they just trying to fill you some kind of wisdom or knowledge? Are they trying to speak a prophecy so that you give them more money? Or get their followings and get their likes and comments? What are they doing? Pay attention. Look what he says. This is encouragement for every single one of us. Habakkuk 3:17. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no yield on the vines, though the olive crop fail, and the fields produce no food, the flock is cut off from the fold, and there is no cattle in the stalls. Yet will I triumph in Adonai. I will rejoice in the God of my salvation. Adonai, my Lord, is my strength. He has made my feet like a deer's and will make me walk on my high places. Be lowly in spirit. He gives grace to the humble. Love each other. Be compassionate and tenderhearted, okay? And if we don't show mercy to those that show no mercy, we're not forgiven. Be careful. Everyone, I want to tell you this too. I don't know who this might be for. Forgive the pastors and the rabbis who have hurt you, okay? Those that you feel like have lied to you. Forgive those. Just forgive. If there's something that you think that I said that I didn't really say, or maybe I said that you took it a different way, or maybe I said, I don't know. Forgive me, please. I'm asking you. Have peace. We need to be at rest with God and hear his voice. This year, we need to spend more time with God than ever before, and I'm telling each of you right now, this is serious, okay? Don't waste your time. Don't waste this time right now. I'm telling you, this is important. Don't hate me. Please don't. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you're free to go anywhere you want. You're free. You're free. You're free to go to another ministries, whatever you want, okay? But don't hate me, please. Protect yourself. And I want to say this again. Wake up, as God keeps saying, stay sober, don't sleep, and be ready. His disciples were sleeping. And he said, wake up. And they were too tired. Guys, remember I said, those speaking the most and the loudest now will be silent later. You don't want to get tired. You're going to get tired if you're not doing this right now. Prepare. Draw close with your families. Reach people in silence. Do the work in silence and reach people. Don't stop spreading the gospel. Don't stop reaching people, okay? But use your resources to reach people. But make sure your families are taken care of. Don't neglect your husbands and your wives, nor your children, okay? Love them. Get them involved with you. That's it. Be like Achilles and be like Paul, where they use their resources to reach people. I mean, days are dark, but there are still people with ears. You just got to go to them. You got to go where God is telling you. Reach those that God is telling you to reach. Don't be sleeping. He's telling us, today, if you hear my voice, don't harden your heart like those did in Egypt. Don't fall asleep, and don't be drunk. Be sober-minded always. Watching. Be a watchman over the walls. For any rustle in the bushes, any light out in the distance, something going on, any movement, any noise that you hear, you got to be prudent. You got to be wise in these times. You got to seek God above, not man. Seek him. I can't lead you to it. I can point you in the direction, but what I can't do is bring you to the kingdom, because only you are going to stand before him. And only you got to choose whether to believe he's truly died for you on the cross or not. And believing is so much deeper. It's believing, it's getting rid of your passions, your desires, your goals, your dreams, your self-will, your pleasures that has nothing to do with the kingdom, okay? Believing is so much farther than that. Everyone who believes will be saved, but those who don't obey won't be. And that's at the end of John 3:36. And the reason is, guys, believing is so much deeper than what we perceive with our eyes. Believing goes beyond what we can see by the flesh. Many can read the Bible 50,000 times. I've said it many times over the years, and still never see. Don't be so wise. Don't think you know it all. I don't. I got a lot of ways to go. We all do. I have not obtained the goal, have not made it, just like Paul has said. But we all continue pressing on. So please, be humble and don't be around those that are not. Be around those that are humble, that, guys, that are leading by example, okay? Please. They're trying to lead in the image of Yeshua, the Messiah. I'm not going to do it perfectly. So, please, if you see the splinter or a log in my eye, I'm not trying to point it out for you. What I'm trying to do is point you to the Messiah. So let him show you all things, because everything that's in the darkness will be revealed in the light, and anything that is there will be revealed. Guys, put away distractions. Try not to listen to the news. Don't have a TV on your wall. There's no TV on my wall. Never will be. Anytime I go to a hotel, no TV. That's why I love the hotels in Jerusalem. The religious ones, no TVs. Just, guys, spend your time wisely. Don't be trusting in a man to give you a word all the time. I'm speaking this right now because I know this is important. Seek. Read, pray. And if you don't know, pray. The reason you don't have is because you seek with the wrong intentions. And you will have if you seek him with pure intentions. Be pure in heart. Those pure in heart will see the Lord. Those pure in heart will see the Lord, thirsting and hungering for righteousness. Don't think of yourself as righteous. He did not call to come the righteous, but the sinners. So you have to know what you've been redeemed from. But don't forget what God's delivered you from. Otherwise, you will drown in pride. You will drown in seeking some kind of secret knowledge or revelation or some truth or stuff. You will drown. So seek God. And though it seems dark, the days are going to get so much darker, way darker. But even if the fig tree doesn't bloom and the entire field is devoured, rejoice in your salvation. Know that. Remember, Elijah thought he was alone. He went in the cave. He's like, I'm done. 40 days and 40 nights. So much he wouldn't even eat. Imagine that. It's just feel for him. But he says, I have one more mission for you to do. Remember, the prophets, sometimes they had one message and that was it. One prophet came and had a message and went back to be a shepherd. Not all prophets have a message from God. 850 were confused, were false. 400 received a deceiving spirit, a message of a deceiving spirit that God put in the mouths of those, but one had it. Now, Elijah there's 7,000 more that did not take a knee to bow. And God said, go anoint Elisha. That will continue the mission. Think about it. God will give rest to those who have completed the mission. Some will complete it sooner, some later. Anyways, we're all called to know God and sit in silence with him. We read the Bible and we think of it, we got to get it done, right? There's plans, read the Bible in a year, right? Read the Bible in a year, read the Bible in a year. You're not going to get nothing out of it. You can read the book of Jude and just spend months on that even. I mean, you study. Even Ecclesiastes says it's vanity. Too much studying is just, it's foolish. With more wisdom and knowledge comes grievance. And sadly, that's the truth. So, but also joy. God will give you joy because of his spirit and that salvation. So don't lose it. I think that's it. That's all I got. I love you all. God bless each one of you. And don't lose focus and don't keep your thoughts on things above. If you're listening to things in the world so much that is evil, that's why don't listen to the radio. Try not to listen to the news and stuff like that. Worldly things, carnal things. There's some religions, they don't even do that. Like Jews, for example, we don't do it. We don't listen to those things. We just don't do it. Even Mormons, they don't do it. Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of times, they don't do it. They just don't listen because you got to keep your mind pure. You wonder how you can seek God because it's pure. If you're listening to tons of preachers all the time and different people speaking all over the place, it's going to confuse you. Rest with God, and you'll truly know the true shepherds and that are after God's heart, like David. And he says, I'll give you shepherds after my own heart. There's not many out there, and many that were once there are departing and going all over. Very few are left. And people are still not sitting in silence and still yelling and making tons of noise. Guys, I'm making more noise in silence than I ever have speaking. I'm seeing more happen in silence. So think about it. And doing the work in silence, so to speak, under the radar. So I love you all. God bless you. I pray this hope helps somebody. Time to go back to silence, and I pray for you all. God bless you. Shalom.